Now let me take a moment to elaborate our position on one key issue, which is human rights. In his meeting with the Chinese co-chairs of the Strategic and Economic Dialogue, Vice Premier Wang Qishan and State Councilor Dai Bingguo, President Obama raised U.S. concerns about the current human rights situation in China and underscored his support for the universal rights of freedom of expression and worship and access to information and political participation. The point that Vice President Biden and Secretary Clinton underscored in their own remarks is, quote, that protecting fundamental rights and freedoms such as those enshrined in Chinese and international commitments, as well as China's own constitution, is the best way to promote long-term stability and prosperity in any society. Our Assistant Secretary for Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor at the State Department, Michael Posner, who incidentally visited Hong Kong last October for some excellent discussions with the vibrant China human rights community here, led the U.S. delegation at the Human Rights Dialogue in Beijing at the beginning of May. The content of the discussions at the Human Rights Dialogue informed the discussions at the SNED a week later. In recent months, we've seen a negative trend on human rights, and a frank discussion of these issues played a central role in the Human Rights Dialogue. We remain very concerned over recent months by reports that dozens of people, including public interest lawyers, writers, and artists, courageous people like Ai Weiwei and Gao Zhisheng, have been arrested, detained, or in some cases simply disappeared with no regard to legal measures. We're also deeply troubled by longer-term trends in China's policies toward Tibet and Xinjiang. We've raised these concerns in meetings between the presidents and in the SNED, and also in the less seen but equally vital working-level diplomacy our mission in China conducts every day. Critics of our approach to human rights within China often see a sinister impulse at work. They argue that the United States, by this interference in China's internal affairs, seeks to destabilize Chinese society. Quite the contrary. We continue to believe that free societies are stable societies, precisely because there are regular and legal channels for people to express their views peacefully. The alternative, a society in which those seeking to make a constructive contribution to their country's development face repression and abuse from a regime intolerant of dissent, is a recipe for instability. With regard to the volatile situation in the Middle East, overnight, President Obama eloquently laid out our position on these matters, highlighting our commitment to speak out for a set of core principles, or universal rights, such as free speech, freedom of peaceful assembly, freedom of religion, equality for men and women under rule of law. Likewise in China, so long as brave people like Liu Xiaobo remained imprisoned or detained simply for trying to exercise their constitutionally protected words and actions, we will not remain silent. Secretary Clinton has also spoken quite eloquently on this topic, and I'll quote her here. I know that China's leaders believe that political reforms could shake the stability of their country and get in the way of its continuing essential economic growth. But we have seen nation after nation, from South Korea to Indonesia, to many parts of the world, where once they realize that denying people the right to express their discontent can easily create more unrest, while embracing reforms can strengthen societies and unleash new potential for development. And that is certainly our hope in the Middle East, as the President's speech overnight emphasized.